Hello and welcome to the Hornets Hive. We're here to bring you all of the build-up to this evening's Premier League fixture against Manchester City. With just 2 games remaining of the 2019-20 season, 4 points from the next 2 games would be enough to secure Watford's Premier League status for another year. Moreover, 1 point could be enough tonight, depending on results elsewhere. Pep Guardiola's Manchester City side arrive at Vicarage Road this evening in 2nd place in the Premier League table, and with the latter stages of the Champions League on the horizon, they will be looking to end the domestic season on a high. This show is for you, the fans, and this platform is very much intended for you to share your opinions and views on all matters Watford. When doing so, we would ask that you please keep all messages considered and respectful at all times, as we will be putting as many of those messages as possible to this evening's panel throughout the show. So on that note, do please click on the username that you currently see, and that will enable you to change it to your own so that we know who you are when we put your question or your comment to our guests. Now, we acknowledge that the last 48 hours have not been easy for anyone connected to the club. But now is the time for us all to unite behind Hayden Mullins and Graham Stack as they take charge of the first team for the remaining 2 fixtures of the season. Both Manchester City and Arsenal will provide tough opposition in the coming days, but our destiny is in our own hands. With just 180 minutes of the 2019-20 season left to play, please sit back and try to enjoy the next hour as we count down to kick off at 6 o'clock this evening. So, with the housekeeping done, let's begin our build-up to this evening's game. Now, one thing we can promise you is that the show is in the safest of hands. We've enlisted the help of 2 Watford goalkeeping legends to help us build up to the game, who have both also played for tonight's opponents, Manchester City. First of all is a goalkeeper who made more than 500 appearances in the Football League and Premier League that included 233 appearances for the Hornets, as well as 164 appearances for Manchester City. He's a 3-time Watford Player of the Season winner and was the 2nd ever inductee into the Watford Football Club Hall of Fame. It's a very, very good evening and warm welcome to Tony Coton. Hi, Tony.
Hi, Emma. You okay?
Seem to enjoy that introduction.
I did, yes. No, I never get tired of hearing that.
Well, it's great to have you with us virtually. Anyway, it's strange circumstances, aren't they? Do you feel like you're getting any more used to football behind closed doors?
No, and I don't think I ever will. We've been without it for so long now during this COVID period. I was looking forward to it restarting, whether there was fans in the ground or not. And I just can't get used to it. It's very difficult. It must be very strange for the players. I've tried muting the sound on the TV. I've tried it with the sound on, and it's difficult. And the quicker it's over, the better.
Yeah, I think we all echo that here at Vicarage Road. Now, from one goalkeeping great to another, our second guest this evening played 572 top-flight matches that included 169 clean sheets. His career included being capped by England 53 times and was the first-choice goalkeeper for both the 2004 European Championships and the 2010 World Cup. Having started his professional career with Watford, he signed for Liverpool, where he made 214 first-team appearances before also playing for the likes of Aston Villa, West Ham, Portsmouth and Manchester City. So joining us live from our studio within Vicarage Road this evening, it's a very warm Hornets Hive welcome to David James.
Good evening, Emma.
Hello, nice to have you with us. A trip up memory lane, literally, since you stepped out of your car this afternoon.
Yes, yeah, I'd never get tired of walking around this area and remembering what I was doing as a youth team player in all different shops, all different places. Digs just down the road, next to the girls' school. And being back in the Tony, definitely a professional. I love this club because 7 years from schoolboy through to first team. Wonderful, wonderful memories.
Well, there's already a lot of love coming in for you both via the chat function, which is great to see. Pedantic, the username, says, Watford's greatest ever goalkeeper. He's going to have to be clear about which one of you two he means there. But when did you two last see each other then?
I reckon it's got to be about 20 odd years ago when Liverpool played Sunderland. I can't think I've seen you since then.
My memory's not that good, Dave. I've got to be honest. I know I spoke to you on the phone a couple of times with different things, but I can't honestly remember. I'm probably a bit thinner and I had more hair then. I know that for certain.
We've got plenty of time this evening to make up for lost time, so it's great to have you both here. Now, we have had a change to the management structure since the West Ham game on Friday night. The club have stated that they won't be making any further comments on the matter, other than to confirm that Hayden Mullins has been made interim first team head coach, and he will be assisted by Graham Stack. Tony, how important is it that the playing staff and the fans really unite as much as they can in the situation and get behind Hayden and Graham for these final two huge games of the season?
Well, they've got to. There's so much to lose. So, I think with Troy in the dressing room as well, you can't. It's the one time when you need fans, isn't it? It's the one time you're playing at home. You need the supporters to get behind you, and it's not going to be there. So it's just down to the players and the staff themselves. They know what's at stake. They know how important this is to the club, the town. They've got to be at their best. We know that they've got to be at their ultimate best, and let's just hope they get off to a good start and they can get the result.
Well, David, Hayden was actually your former teammate at West Ham, right?
Yes.
So can you give us a bit of an insight into what he's like as a person? Because the fans don't really get to hear from him a huge amount. They heard from him a bit in that time where he was interim boss earlier in the season. But just give us an insight on what he's like as a character.
Very level-headed, very considerate. I don't know what the previous managerial styles were at the club personally, but I know that Hayden's very, very considerate person. And I think it's a great opportunity for him. What Tony said is absolutely true. I mean, what you need from a club, and I've been in this position myself, is to have your fans at the stadium behind you. But I think, fortunately, obviously compared to when I was playing many years ago, there are still social media outlets which the fans can get behind. And I know that I'd imagine the players are aware that the fans are behind them in whatever capacity they can be. But with regards to Hayden, I think great opportunity for him. I think he'll have the team with him. I mean, one thing I do like when I've been watching Watford throughout the season is seeing Hayden alongside the manager and sort of giving his bit as well. So I think he'll get the respect from the players. They know what, like Tony said, they got to do. Best performances, 2 more, keep Watford up, happy days, and then see what happens next season.
Well, when Hayden was in charge earlier in the season, the team really gave everything. They looked well organised. But Tony, away from the structure and the tactics side of thing, it's the giving everything, isn't it? Especially at this point in the season, the fans will really want to see.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to leave nothing in the dressing room. You've got to be on the front foot from the first whistle until the final whistle. And I think many fans around the country will, it should be a given that you give everything that you've got for any team, and fans will accept that you give your all every game. But there's so much at stake here. That they, as I say, they can't leave anything in the dressing room at all. They've got to get after this Man City team right from the first whistle. Yeah.
Well, after that disappointing performance against West Ham as well, away from the result tonight, David, how important is it that Watford just put in a good performance?
Yeah, I mean, the difficulty for Hayden in this situation is the amount of time he's had to prepare for the game. And I agree with Tony, 100%. Effort and giving from the players is paramount. However, depends what Hayden's asked for them, because as we've seen this weekend when Manchester City got beat by Arsenal, it doesn't necessarily mean running around as fast or as far as you can. It might mean being disciplined and holding a structured shape. And if they give everything that Hayden asked for, he's got the coaching ability and the experience to be able to get the performance. It's up to the players on the field to do what he asks them to do and then get the results. So, beyond this, into the second game as well, I mean, I'm optimistic there's going to be a decent result for Watford today. And I don't know what's going to happen tonight. No one knows what's going to happen tonight. It might be all done and dusted, as you said. But as long as the players do what Hayden asked for them, and as long as Hayden, and I believe he will, ask them to do the right things, then we will be smiling at the end of the game.
I think if Emma there, I think it's just the mindset of what Man City are turning up with. They can't be touched. They're in second place. They're miles ahead in second place. Obviously, the league's already been won. It's what mindset they come to Vicarage Road with. It's that's a key point for me. How they set up and how they go about their business.
Yeah, we'll talk about City in more depth shortly when we go through the team news. David, before we move on, does the name Ian Foster ring any bells?
Ian Foster.
Yeah, we've had a comment come in here on the chat function saying, me and my wife sponsored David's gloves when Steve Perryman was in charge.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
you can't remember your sponsor.
I do apologise. Do you know what? I've got the programme at home. I will have a look through the programme. Ian, I apologise if I don't recall you instantly, but I do remember meeting all the sponsors, because that was part of our enjoyment as a Watford player, that we would have the sponsors evening, meet everybody. Yeah.
And when you say you've got the programme at home, you will have the programme at home, won't you? You like your Watford memorabilia. We were talking about that a bit earlier.
I've got every programme from when I was playing and watching Watford play. So they're all there.
Well, on that note, we'll take a look at the final two fixtures of this season. So 2 left. Yeah, that's gone really quick, hasn't it, the restart? So on Sunday, we will be travelling to the Emirates to take on Arsenal and, of course, Manchester City tonight. Tony, there's no dressing this up, is there, or getting away from it? It is a brutal end to the season.
Yeah, I mean, the two teams probably that you wouldn't want to face is Man City and then Arsenal, isn't it? When you're scraping for points.
Yeah.
They're both difficult games in their own right. But David, I'm going down David's line here. I believe that there'll be something gained out of tonight's match. I think at least a point. I really do.
Yeah. What do you think we need? I know mathematically, if you work out the permutations, but David, what's the feeling you get? Do you think 1 point would be enough to stay up? Do you think we'd need any at all?
I would rather work on a basis that 1 point would be good enough and getting it. Obviously, if everyone matches the same results, then Watford stay up. I mean, another little bit of my sort of optimism, I think it was the first season, 1991, we were in a pretty similar position. We had to play Middlesbrough, who were going for promotional playoffs. We had to play Oxford, who were in a similar position. We beat them both and we stayed up. We had the last game of the season against Bristol. I think we lost 4-1 or 4-2 at home, but it didn't matter. If they believe they can do something, then they put themselves in the right place. And, be it a point, Man City's defeats, most of them have come away from home. So, for them to lose, they've had an erratic season, since lockdown was eased off. So, there's everything pointing in the direction that something can happen today. This isn't a side who have gone unbeaten and we still need to beat them, as in Watford. So, get a point, get 3 points. I got 3 points. Don't even have to worry about the Villa game.
Yeah, exactly. Now, just going back to that question I raised earlier from a user called Pedantic, who said Watford's greatest ever goalkeeper. We weren't sure which one of you two he was referring to. Well, Hamish has come back and said, love them both. Difficult choice. There we go.
I agree. Yeah. Totally agree.
All right. Well, it's time to take a look back at some classic matches from the Hornets Hive archive now. This evening, we're looking back to some recent performances against tonight's opponents, Manchester City.
Gundogan, Sterling has squeezed it in, but the flag is up. Goal given. Ooh. It's come to Silva. And now Mahrez, and there's Sterling. No flag this time. 2-0 City. Silva. Sterling's on a hat-trick. Raheem Sterling has a hat-trick for Manchester City. Deeney's won his header, and Deulofeu has scored. Well, what about that? Watson's corner, in! Kolarov's corner, 1-1. Sanya, delicious cross, Aguero!
And he's played through Thomas, Priskin! Goal for Watford! Just what they needed.
Well, here's a stat that no one's going to particularly enjoy. Manchester City haven't lost their final away game of a Premier League season since 2008-2009 season. That was against Tottenham, apparently. So they've won 8 and drawn 2 of their 10 such games. Doesn't bode well, does it? But then I suppose, David, this isn't just an ordinary season, is it?
Well, Manchester United were on a 19-game unbeaten run before they got beat yesterday, day before, whenever it was. Momentum and stats like that, someone has to break them.
Exactly.
That's the way I look at it. So, it has been a very unusual season. I agree. What Tony said earlier was a great point, how Manchester City are going to approach this game. Yeah. Because it's not just the league they've got. They haven't got the FA Cup anymore, but they've still got Champions League. You know, is what they're going to be like mentally going into this game, knowing that there's still bigger games to play afterwards. So, they're going to lose one game, last away game of the season. And why not tonight?
Yeah, we've got a couple of fans agreeing with you as well, Tony. G. Jimpy says, keep calm tonight, lads. City can't be shifted from second spot. So hopefully they won't be on their game. Arsenal will do us a favour at Villa. So we just need to hold on to our heads. Don't panic. Yeah, just picking up on this point you've made, Tony, does that kind of psyche actually exist in the dressing room? Or is that just a narrative that we put on things, thinking, oh, City, you've got other things to worry about? Or as a player, do these kind of thoughts come into your head?
Well, I listened to Graham Souness in his commentary the other day, and they were asking the same question of what is your mindset when you've already won the league? Because they were talking about Liverpool's sort of their performances dipping since they were named champions. And he said, I can't put his finger on it. He said, I can't put my finger on it. He said, because it happened to him many times. They'd won the league with 3 or 4 games to go, this, that, and the other. He said, and we prepared the same, we did everything the same, but we just went out and our performances were never there.
Yeah.
So it's something that, as you say, in the psyche that, oh, well, there's nothing really matters of that. That just that extra yard where you'd go, they'd probably go, no, I'm not going to maybe pull out of a tackle, want to save myself for the Champions League or something like that. Hopefully it's like that way anyway. But you can't really put your finger on it, but it does happen.
Well, a user
hope it happens tonight.
Yeah, well, so we've had someone get in touch saying, City at the beach, please. I'll supply the recliners. I think us 3 will too, actually. Now, having heard David and Tony's thoughts on Manchester City, it's now time to hear from Tom Dele-Bashiru, who spent time at City himself and knows firsthand what it's like to play under one of the best coaches in world football, Pep Guardiola.
Tell us a little bit about Pep. What's he like? What's he like to work for?
He's a great guy to work for. He always tries to talk to the young players, tell you ways you can improve your game. He doesn't smile much, but he does joke around a bit. But yeah, he's a nice guy to work for.
Is he sort of in amongst it with the players? Is he sort of a one-to-one? Does he put his arm around your shoulder and give you a bit of individual advice? Is he that type of guy that takes interest in all the lads?
Yeah, he's that type of guy. He'll take you aside and he'll tell you about how you trained, how you could have been better, stuff other things you could have done, ways to improve your game. So yeah, he's that type of guy.
We sometimes see him even at the end of games when City have won, sort of pulling a player to one side. And we can't tell whether he's giving them a pep talk, forgive the pun, or whether he's sort of almost having a go at them. Have you seen that side of him?
He's just he's a bit of a perfectionist. So even if you win a game 4-0, but there was still some areas you could have improved on, he'll tell you about it. So that's just the way he is, I think.
Do you think he's a real student of the game? Does he?
Yeah.
Really study your position and tactically really astute?
Yeah, very, like my time there and any time they did analysis on any players, any other teams, he was always, like, they'd be in there for a long time just analysing the team, analysing ways that they can break them down, analysing how they can play to their strengths against the opponent's weaknesses. So, yeah, he's very, very astute.
Tell us about, you obviously played with Jadon Sancho at City and still in touch with him now. Tell us a little bit about him. Yeah,
Sancho's a good guy. He just enjoys playing football. He's always been that bubbly guy on the pitch and off the pitch as well. So yeah, he's a good guy.
What was he like to play with? I mean, could you tell, your time at City, obviously he's gone now to Dortmund and doing great things.
Yeah, you could always tell he was destined for the top. Yeah, he's a very, very good footballer, very gifted, very good dribbler. You'd hate to be 1v1 against him. So, and he's matured his game now. Like, he's scoring goals, he's assisting now. So yeah, he's a very good player.
Tom Dele-Bashiru, the coach.
The coach.
How do you go about stopping Manchester City?
Just try and make them play wide. Don't let them play through the lines. I think that's what I'd say. Because they love playing in the little pockets, so try and force them wide. And then try and make them cross it and try and block the cross. That's what I'd say.
Well, I'm not sure whether we can call those highlights as such, but let's talk Pep Guardiola. David, for you, what makes him so good at what he does? Why is he so successful?
First of all, he came from a great schooling with Barcelona, but this guy, and I say this in the most fondest way that I can, he's like Rain Man when it comes to football and football tactics. He understands so much of the game. When he had his sabbatical, he learned more about different sports and the approach to how he could implement them in football. The thing I love about him more than anything is the way that he talks about the game pre-match or post-match, as if everybody who's listening understands it to that degree as well. He's not scared of answering a question. He expects perfection, as you've seen, and many people have seen. When the team's still winning, he wants more. The caveat to that would be that it seems to be a terribly intense environment to work under or work in, and obviously you're going to lose players through it. But this guy's had success everywhere he's gone. Maybe he needs to have that beach holiday, which was recommended in the chat today. But you can't take anything away from this guy's excellence, and he is definitely a positive move for being in the Premier League for us to enjoy what we see most of the time.
Tony, for you, how do you compete against the Pep Guardiola side? What do you need to do? It's the eternal question, isn't it?
Well, you just have to have more ball than them, but that's not going to happen. Listen, the only thing I can say, and if I'd have been Aidan Mullins, I would have probably done a rerun of the Liverpool game when you beat Liverpool 3-0, and I would probably have showed them the Chelsea Man United game from a few days ago, because Chelsea hadn't beat United this season. I think Frank Lampard got his tactics absolutely spot on by getting in people's faces, closing them down, not giving United any space, outworking them and outrunning them. And that is what Watford have got to do tonight.
Yeah. Lots of you getting in touch using the chat function. Teza says, I think we can get a point tonight. There's a lot of love for you two as well. Of course, we are joined by two of the best goalkeepers this club has ever seen this evening.
We can feel it, Dave, can't we?
We can feel it, definitely, yeah.
Well, this is what the Hornets Hive is all about. Now, for those of you who weren't fortunate enough to have seen both Tony and David live, here are some of their highlights from their Watford careers. So first of all, it's you, Tony.
Black and white.
Morley playing it into the path of Hinchcliffe, onto that left foot of his, tipped away well by Coton. Morley again. Trying to get a shot on target. Biggins with a shot. Oh, well saved by Coton.
Presenting the ball to Lee. Dalglish. Here's Lawson. The chance for Liverpool. And the save from Coton from Mark Lawrenson. Forceful running. He got the better of Rostron, but not the better of Coton. The player's quite likely to leave it to him. And that's Rush, and Coton only at the second attempt, as Whelan was following in. Dalglish, and now Bedlin, and Coton stops the first one, and Rush trying to pounce on the rebound. More penetration from Liverpool then. A tremendous result for Tony Coton. Celebrates a clean sheet at Anfield.
Well, first things first, those shorts, Tony, I don't know where to look.
Oh, I'll tell you what. Didn't leave a lot to the imagination, did it? A pair of Speedos on. I don't know, yeah. They should have been seen on a German beach somewhere.
What are your Watford highlights? I mean, we saw some of them there, but for you personally, what games really, really stood out for you?
Well, to be fair, that one that you shown, the Liverpool game, was the quarter-final of the Cup. And for some reason, we played the quarter-final on a Wednesday night. I don't know whether there'd been fixtures, postponements or whatever. And we went to Anfield and we got absolutely battered. And I had a lot of luck on my side that night. So that one, Arsenal away, another quarter-final. And we beat Arsenal 3-1. And then I went and broke my thumb before the semi-final. There's two. You know, there's been lots of highlights over the years.
Yeah,
there's two.
That story of you breaking your thumb kind of segues into you, David, doesn't it?
Yes, I don't know. Well, I'm sure you remember the trip, but you broke your thumb. Actually, no, not the trip. Actually, you broke your thumb, and back in the day, for the younger audience, there was a first team goalkeeper, reserve team goalkeeper, and youth team goalkeeper, and essentially that was the order of opportunity. Although I think there was only one sub at the time, might have been two. So Tony broke his thumb, and Steve Sherwood, I think, was injured, and
dislocated his finger.
And then the semi-final against Tottenham at Villa Park, I had to take my kit in a bag on the fan bus. They told me that I might get a chance of playing or something, so I thought, like a naive schoolboy, which I literally was, that I might get a chance. So I went there, ended up watching the game. Gary Plumley was in goal, and my teammates, you remember Ash and Sol and them lot, they just went, "Jamo, you would have saved them." And I was like, "Yeah, of course I would have done." The fact that I didn't get a minute's sleep the night before.
Listen, as much as Graham was a legend, this, that, and the other, I think that was one big mistake from myself. I'd rather have played Dave. I said it to him after. I'd rather have played Dave at his age than Gary Plumley.
Well, Tony, there's a load of love coming in for you. Kevin says, TC, what a ledge. Teza says, what a save. Which one? There's so many in there. Sandra says, loved the shorts, Tony. There we go. Well, having heard,
there you are, Sandra.
having heard from Tony about some of his best bits from his career, it's time to turn our attention now to David's time in a Watford shirt. So I think our viewers now can see some of the footage of your playing days. Yeah, there we go. I mean, David, you went on to have such an amazing career, you know, with England. But for Watford, that's where it all began. It must be special to you still.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Sorry, I'm just enjoying this because
is it weird watching it back?
Yeah, again, to the younger fans, I mean, it's very difficult to find old footage. Look at those white shorts. Wow. Yeah, I mean, hang on, I saved a penalty. Get in. Right,
West Brom.
I'll have to send you this and we transfer after or something. Yeah.
If this is West Brom, I nearly scored. No, it's Portsmouth. Oh, okay. Yeah,
Assist.
I mean, definitely. Oh, I'm buzzing off this. Yeah, I mean, I was a school kid when I came here. The irony is, when I joined Watford, we'd played Tottenham in a schoolboy match and lost 6-2. If anyone remembers Rod Thomas, he scored 5 goals in the game. And Tom Wally, who was like a father figure to the youth team, he said that he wanted me and my teammate Jason Solomon to come to Watford. I'd been at Tottenham for 1 year and played one game, so my record at Tottenham wasn't particularly great. In the first week, we played 3 games, and I just fell in love with the club. So watching these, it was a culmination, obviously, of going through youth team and schoolboy, whatever. Loved it. I mean, I love this place. I'm just sat here now. As I said to you on the way in, you know, Tony was the #1 goalkeeper. He must have hated me kicking balls at him in training because I know how he acted. So, yeah, fond memories.
And loads of love coming in for you as well. Go on, Tone.
I only disliked you, Dave, when you missed the target, mate.
That was every other kick, though. That was a problem.
Well, you worked at it, and your kicking was superb in the end, wasn't it?
Thank you.
Hayley says, well, she's just put your initials, David, with a love heart next to them.
Oh, thank you.
Remember, we are a family club. Come on, you Horns. That's a long username, isn't it? Says, Watford always had great goalkeepers. Pete Fincham says, David James' save from Terry Gibson at home to Swindon in '92. That was quite something. Does that ring any bells with you?
Oh, Swindon. No.
So too many good things to remember. All right. Well, as lovely as it's been reminiscing, there is half an hour to go until tonight's game here at Vicarage Road. So time now to take a look at the teams for the first time. So we'll look at the Watford lineup first. There's 2 changes. Mariappa and Pereyra both return to the lineup. They're replacing Adam Messina and Danny Welbeck. So still no Etienne Capoue. Adrian Mariappa with his 300th start in all competitions this evening, which is quite a feat. Initial thoughts then, David, on this Watford side. What do you think the thinking is there from Hayden?
Well, you know, Manchester City's weakness, and as good a side as they are, there is a weakness. Their weakness is central defence. That was highlighted obviously in the weekend. And I think that, again, because Hayden hasn't had much time to work on it, it's whether or not he wants to say a disciplined defensive unit to try and sort of not lose the game, which I would hopefully is not the approach. I think it's get it forward quick, use your strength, the power of the side. Troy Deeney, obviously Captain Magic, get him on the ball as much as he can and try and utilise the advantage they would have over the central defence. And at Manchester City, as I say, since lockdown has been eased, you know, they are vulnerable, they have lost games, and there are opportunities for Watford to win this. But going back to Tony's point, has to be disciplined, it has to be 100% effort, 100% control. You know, any recklessness and losing players isn't going to help the cause. But I'm optimistic. You know, talking about goalkeepers, you've got Ben Foster, signed a new deal. He's another Watford goalie through and through. One of the best goalkeepers about. So, spirited performance by him, the rest of the team. And so it's all good.
Yeah. God, David, you can come back for sure. Tony, what's your thoughts on the Watford side tonight then, those 2 changes? And how do you think we're going to be lining up? It looks to be a sort of 4-3-3 or
3-3.
Yeah.
Possibly a 4-3-3, match them up.
Yeah.
And I agree with what David's just said. The weakness is in the central defence for me. And I think that's where Troy's going to play a key role and a proper captain's role. But he has to get the supply. There's no one better to rough up a defence than Troy when he's on his mantle. So for me, that will be the key area of the attacking side for us is get it into Troy, get bodies up and around him, and not sit back and try and deny them space, because they'll find space if you try and deny them. Get on the front foot and get after them, get in the face.
And David, a quick look at that Man City side. I think there's 4 changes from the cup fixture at the weekend. So out are Mendy, Mahrez, Gundogan and David Silva. In Cancelo, Bernardo Silva, Foden and Rodri. I mean, you look at that and you sort of try to work out what City might be doing, but it just seems like they've got so much quality in that side. Either way, you're going to be facing a strong team tonight.
Yeah, I mean, the beauty of looking at a team sheet is you can be amazed by how good it looks.
Yeah.
This is a side, and I say this respectfully, and better off in a second position than lower than that. But this is a side who have lost the league by a footballing country mile, dare I say. They've been knocked out of the FA Cup. They're only playing for the Champions League, let's say. So this team is more than capable of losing games of football. Let's say there are weaknesses, and the same weaknesses that have been going through the season. There's inconsistency in performances, which is a good thing, because you jump on that inconsistency in a negative, then we can get points possibly from it. The downside is, and Watford know fully well, that this side, when it clicks, can devastate the opposition. So look at the team sheet, be afraid, but also be aware of the fact that they are only human, and this is the game that Watford need to win. Man City don't need to win this game, and hopefully everything falls in line and Watford get the result. But yeah, up and down that side, there is quality, but there is also an opportunity.
Well, keep letting us know your thoughts on the Watford side tonight and what you think of City. Kevin says he's pleased that Pereyra is playing. It will help us keep the ball. If we've got it, they haven't, which is very true. Right, how long have we got till kickoff? So just over 20 minutes. So time now to join a football analytics journalist and the co-host of the Double Pivot podcast, who's consulted for the likes of ESPN. And we're going to head all the way over to the east coast of the USA now to join the newly named Mystic Mike. So it's a big Hornets Hive welcome to our resident analyst, Mike Goodman. Do you like your nickname, Mike? I think someone gave that to you last week, didn't they?
I think somebody put it in the chat, and I love it, Emma. It's great. As long as I'm right more than I'm wrong, I'm doing okay.
Well, this is it. You've been bang on so far with your stat-based predictions and projections. So we'll look ahead to tonight's game and the situation generally, actually, with Watford. The analysis, the data you've been looking at actually suggests that we have a very good chance of staying up and avoiding relegation. It would.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of focus on everything that's gone wrong and that feels bad around the club at the moment. And I think that's after the last match, that's completely understandable. But the thing about the wins against Norwich and Newcastle is that it gave the club a lot of runway to work with. And some of the best models out there, the numbers, they have them about a 25% chance of getting relegated. And I think a good way to understand that is if you look towards the teams they're competing with. Before Bournemouth lost to Southampton, Watford actually had a 40% chance of getting relegated. But the fact of the matter is that continuing to have a 3-point lead at this point in the season with 2 games or 1 game left is a huge advantage. And it's not even so much about whether or not Watford get points. And, points against Manchester City are almost a bonus. It's about the fact that it's really, really hard for the teams below them to consistently get enough points to overcome the deficit. They all need, especially because of goal difference, more than 3 points to get by Watford. Now, the last point that you want to get to in relation to that, though, is that goal difference. And when you look at a game like Manchester City tonight, every goal matters, because what you don't want to have end up happening is a position where Aston Villa in particular can close that goal difference gap against Watford, so that if they finish even on points, Villa get the nod, especially since they play the easiest match anybody has left is Aston Villa at West Ham, playing West Ham the last match of the season. So there's a lot of good news, but that good news is basically the fact that the other teams still need to get points to catch Watford, and that what Watford do in their own games is almost a little bit of a bonus when it comes to that.
Yeah, Manchester City, they're one of the best teams in Europe. They get a lot of possession in their games. They've got a lot of threat from all over the pitch. It is really, really important, isn't it, that we do limit them to as few chances as possible? Because as you alluded to there, goal difference also comes into all of this.
Yeah, look, you want to go out and you want to get points, because if you get points against City, you're close to wrapping this thing up and staying up. But I think it's really important to also keep in mind, if you concede 1 early, if you concede 2 early, that the game is not over. It is a mammoth difference between losing by 1 goal or 3 goals in this match. A really substantive difference in your chances of staying up in the Premier League next season. So at this point, every single goal really matters.
Yeah, it certainly does. Mike, thank you so much for joining us. Mystic Mike, I should say. Tezza is very impressed that we've used his nickname for you. He's been in touch and he says, I don't put my bets on until Mike has spoken.
Oh, that's a lot of pressure on my shoulders now.
It is a little bit, yeah. Especially now you said we've got a good chance of staying up. So thank you, Mike. Appreciate your time as always. And we look forward to speaking to you on Sunday. Cheers.
All right, see you then.
That was Mike Goodman, our resident stat man, who joins us on each of the Hornets Hives. So great to have Tony and David with us this evening as well. We'll be putting some of your questions to both our guests very shortly. But those performances, which we touched on there actually with Mike against Norwich and Newcastle, I think really gave us reason for optimism ahead of this evening's match against Manchester City. It is now 12 years since Sheikh Mansour purchased Man City, and since appointing Pep Guardiola as a manager in 2017, the club has been transformed into one of the powerhouses of European football. Douglas Rinaldi was Watford's first ever Brazilian player and signed for the Hornets back in 2007. Early on in his Watford career, he experienced what it was like to play against this evening's opponents, Manchester City. And he joined the Hornets Hive this week to reminisce about his time in a Watford shirt. And he also gave us his thoughts on the emergence of his fellow countryman, Joao Pedro, who is once again in this evening's squad.
E o jogo contra o Manchester City vai ser muito difícil. O que precisam os jogadores para obter bom resultado, acha você?
Eu vejo hoje, por mais que o City, hoje, nessa magnitude que está, a estrutura hoje do Watford está muito melhor do que na nossa época também. Eu vejo aquela época até um pouco mais de dificuldade devido ao nosso... A gente jogava ainda, o Watford jogava num estilo de jogo diferente, não era esse estilo hoje mais com a bola no chão. Até eu assisti esses dias a entrevista do Elton, onde que ele comentava que na passagem dele foi a época em que esse grupo italiano que está hoje, né, que o pessoal assumiu o clube e começou a mudar a metodologia de jogo do Watford. E o Watford hoje tem atletas de muita qualidade, né, atletas expressivos, na nossa época também, mas é uma questão de encaixar o jogo, né, o professor fazer adequar um esquema que consiga conter o toque de bola do City. Tenho certeza que dá para conseguir pontos, né? Mas com certeza é um jogo muito difícil, jogadores de muita qualidade, mas nada é impossível. Qual foram as 2 derrotas do Liverpool na temporada?
Exatamente.
Então é possível, sem problema nenhum.
Sim. E vai assistir ao jogo. Como vai ficar o resultado, acha você?
Olha, eu arriscaria no empate, 1-1. Eu acho que seria um excelente resultado.
So 1-1, the prediction there. Let us know your predictions using the chat function. Plenty of you pretty active on there tonight, which is good to see. We'd like you to get you involved in the show. So Teza, who famously nicknamed Mike, Mystic Mike, has a question for Tony. What do you think of Ben Foster's season so far?
I think with Ben's performances this season, I think we might not be having this conversation. It might be already done and dusted because he's saved the club, the team, on so many occasions. Yeah, he's made mistakes like we've all done, at times, and you can certainly apportion some goals down to him. But I think on the whole, he's had a good season, and I think he's going to show his worth tonight. He's going to need to show his worth tonight for the team. I'm always going to big him up because I was the one that found him and sent him to Watford on loan. So I'm always going to big Ben up.
There we go. If anyone wants to show love to Ben, just send your tweets to Tony instead. Yeah.
It's me. It's me, yep. Without doubt.
David, right, I've got a question for you here, which I hope makes sense. David, this is from Kevin. Can you tell the story about when you broke the ribs of the ball boy at a youth team game at Woodside?
Right. Now, I remember an incident which occurred here. So the old way of preparing for a football match, the manager used to say, "Go out, be in at a certain time," and we would run outside. I probably took more shots than I saved shots because I didn't have a goalie coach. Sit and chat with people. One of the things was practicing free kicks, and the ball boys used to stand literally next to the post. And one of my misplaced free kicks hit the ball boy. He ended up in Watford General with, I believe it was more of an internal organ issue.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But and then Stuart Pearce put me up front for Man City. So he explained to me, he obviously wasn't at the game, but fortunately the ball boy was okay. If it happened at Woodside, then I forget that one.
I mean, you just touched on another ridiculous story there. For our younger fans, especially who might not be aware of this, just Google David James playing up front for City against, was it Middlesbrough?
Against Middlesbrough, last game of the season, yeah.
If we've got time, we'll come back to that, David. But for now, we do have 15 minutes to go until kick-off at Vicarage Road. So it's time to hear from the Watford captain, Troy Deeney, as he approaches his 10th anniversary since signing for Watford from Walsall back in 2010. He's been speaking to Hornets Hive about how he and the club have grown together during this time.
For the Watford fans, what does it mean to put on that jersey?
You know the best way to describe it, and this is honest opinion. I naturally, when I came here, I was just before I was 22, or I was just 22. Sorry, I was raw, still messing about on the other side of life, doing all of that nonsense, and I've basically grown with the club. The club evolved. And I kind of went, so if I went there, the club went there, and it kind of just did that. Do you know what I mean? So now there's a double-edged sword. So if Watford are doing well, it's all of us. If Watford are doing bad, it's Troy. You get what I mean? So it comes with the territory, but ultimately, man, this is my club. If you don't know Watford, you know Troy. If you know Troy, you know Watford.
Well, don't forget that the Hornets Hive is live in the lead up to every Premier League match day. So do be sure to join us from 3 o'clock this Sunday for the final game of the 2019-20 season at long last. Watford will be travelling to the Emirates to take on Mikel Arteta's Arsenal side. So we're going to be live with all the build-up ahead of that game. And we're going to be joined by 2 more special guests. We've got former teammates, Gifted Noel Williams and Micah Hyde, on the Hive for that one, which we're looking forward to. But back to tonight, some of the questions and comments coming in are just brilliant. Philly Hornet, let's put DJ, Tony and Ben Foster in goal for today's game. I mean,
you have to bring me gloves back, Dave.
10 Sergio Agueros, I don't think would score past you 3, surely.
As long as Ben was doing the diving around, I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, exactly.
Tony, Perry Randall says, I've got a question. Which player can perform something magical for us tonight?
I think the two players that are probably going to be pivotal for any success that Watford are going to have tonight is going to be Ben Foster and Troy Deeney. Mm-hmm. Without doubt. I think they're the two that are going to have to show up and perform tonight. Yeah. They're the two for me.
And for you, David?
I think, another weakness for Man City is the depth of the crosses. So if the cross is outside the box, sort of towards the middle part of the field, so you're looking at the likes of Sarr, if they can get crosses in to, again, attack this central defensive partnership, then Sarr with 2 assists will do me. It doesn't matter if Troy scores or whoever scores, 2 own goals. It doesn't matter. But I think delivery is going to be the key for it, because Troy can only work off the delivery. Delivery into Troy is good. We got a chance.
David, your optimism is rubbing off on the fans, because Emma W says, I think we'll shock everyone tonight with a 5-0 win. Sandra says Troy is the boy. John Day says, I've never blamed Troy for any Watford mishaps. That guy loves this club. Mm-hmm. Tony, Troy is going to be so up for it tonight, isn't it? He relishes the big occasion, and they don't get much bigger than this.
No, he's always the man to rise to the occasion, and I think he's going to have to play a captain's role tonight. I really do. And if you're relying on anyone, then you can rely on him. And as I say, and what David said, the key is service. Mm-hmm. Get service into him.
Yeah.
And see if he can bully those central defenders of Man City, which I believe he can do.
Yeah, I think, again, the optimism coming through. We've had another 3-0 prediction. Welbeck hat-trick, you heard it here first, and 3 assists from Troy. It sounds like Troy's going to be a busy boy tonight. A question for you both. We'll come to you first, David. What was the feeling? This is from Gary, sorry. He says, what was the feeling when you first started your first team game for Watford?
Put it this way, I didn't know I was going to be playing until the week beforehand. So all the pre-season, I was number 2 in my reckoning. Played Millwall, lost 2-1. Dubious goal, the second goal. Had there been VAR, apart from that one incident early in the restart, it wouldn't have been a goal. It was a definite save right wide of the post. So we ended up losing 2-1. Malcolm Allen scored for Millwall, ex-Watford boy, so that wasn't very nice. We lost 2-1, and I thought that was my professional football career over, because they would get someone else in, but Colin Lee picked me for the next game. So it was kind of a lot of ambivalence, if you like. I love the fact that I played, hate the fact that we lost. And
for you, Tony?
I'm still having counselling after my debut for Watford.
But as a goalkeeper, do you ever have a dream debut? I can't imagine that happens very often.
I did.
Did you?
Wait, Birmingham.
Oh, penalty saver.
Do you not know?
Yeah.
Do you not know the history, Emma?
Go on, tell the story. I was reading about this earlier.
My first touch on my debut in league football was to save a penalty.
I mean, that is quite a debut, actually. Granted.
Yeah, but my Watford one was quite the opposite. And I'd always remembered Graham when he met me to sign me. He said, "Look, we've got a naive back four. We'll always score goals, but we're letting too many in." He said, "I want you to come in and strengthen this back four up." And we lost 5-4 at home to the great Everton side of the 80s.
Wow.
And I remember coming off and speaking to Neville Southall, and Neville just said, "All the best behind that back four that you've got there." So yeah, still having counselling after that, but it did get better.
Yeah. Plenty of you still getting in touch. Eric Richard McKelvey says, "I've just decided we're winning tonight." I have to say, there's a lot of positive score predictions coming in. L. Chappers says, "Hoping that David is right. I've just got that odd feeling I had before the Liverpool game in February. Let's hope." David, it is true. This side can spring a surprise on a good team. They've got previous.
Absolutely. I mean, I think for all the Watford fans, the frustration has been losing or not picking up points against the sides around them. Yes, there's obviously some big score lines against Watford, Man City being the one 8-0. But, against the better sides, We
nearly did an hour without mentioning that, David.
Well, yeah, it happens. So, we can't change it. The point being is, though, a lot of the good results have come against the better sides. So they are a side who are capable of performing. And if you have to perform on the day, well, today is the day that you have to perform. And, against a good side, it makes it a 1-0 victory. Forget the 2 assists. A 1-0 victory is the sweetest victory you can have in football, and it's even better against a top side.
I don't think my nails could take a 1-0 victory.
And that is why it's so good. So,
well, the teams are just coming out of the tunnel here at Vicarage Road. Man City certainly are first anyway. The sun is shining on the pitch here, and looks pretty spectacular out there, actually. But we're going to be back at half-time with the views of both David James and Tony Coton. We're going to be analysing that first half, hopefully with a 1-0 lead. We'll keep our fingers crossed. Due to broadcasting rights at half-time, that will be audio only from the studio. So for now, sit back and if you can, enjoy the first half via your usual broadcast feed. And please do remember to send through your messages via the watch along text function. Now, hopefully you can hear Z cars booming out now across Vicarage Road. Keep the comments coming in on the chat function during the game. At halftime, we can put those to Tony and to David as well. If you're unable to watch a live match feed, then we are delighted to now be able to hand you to 2 very familiar voices. John Marks and Derek Payne have exclusive commentary of today's game. Come on, you Hornets. Bridge Road. It is Watford 0, Manchester City 2. Raheem Sterling with both the City goals, one coming from the penalty spot. Oh no, it wasn't. It was saved, wasn't it, by Ben Foster? So on the rebound, but still 2 Sterling goals. The difference so far. David James and Tony Coton back with us to discuss the first 45. So keep your questions and your comments coming in via the chat function. Please do keep them clean and respectful if you would like them featured on the Hive. So then, 2 down at the break. Let's talk about that as a first half performance from Watford, Tony. On the whole, how do you think Watford looked that first 45?
Well, they don't look a threat. They don't look like scoring a goal. And it looks like they've set up, certainly when they're in possession and going forward on the few chances that they have, it looks like a 4-3-3 and then a 4-5-1 when they're out of possession. We haven't seen Sarr, we haven't seen Pereyra, so it looks to me as if it's damage limitation for me, really. The importance of not conceding any more goals. As we said at the start of the show, goal difference might play a part in this. Ben's made one great save. Well, he's made 2 great saves, including the penalty stop. And the first goal, the finish from Sterling, no chance. I think me and David would hold our hands up there. There's no chance there. Then it's a great penalty stop with his left hand, and obviously Sterling's the closest in to put the rebound in. But no threat going forward, it looks to me as if it's like trying to deny them space and damage limitation. I just fear for the worst after that. You've got a young management team now, and it's where you need your coaching staff and your management team to regroup, maybe change the tactics. But at the moment, it looks like it's just damage limitation for me.
What about for you, David? I mean, Tony said there we haven't necessarily looked at threat going forward, but when you think at this stage, the last time we faced City, we were 5-0 down at the break. There are positives to be taken, I think, with the way that they have performed at the back.
Okay, I'm not sure that's the one that Hayden will use as a team motivator at half time. I mean, if you
look, I'm here and not in the dressing room.
I mean, if you look at that first half, one of the things which was important, I think we said before the game, is that you've got to close players down. You've got to have the discipline and shape. And like Tony says, they fall into what looks like a 4-5-1 defensive mode, but there's no real pressure. So Man City are able to get to within the width of the box and basically play attack v defence. I mean, this is something you do in training week in, week out. And when you look at what Ben Foster's actually had to do, he's made 2 great saves, one of them being from a penalty. It's not like he's being overworked. So Man City have got the opportunity and the time to play the ball around and not really, and this sounds slightly ironic given it's 2-0 scoreline, but not really punish Watford in the way that they could do for the amount of possession in dangerous areas. And even when you look at the penalty, Will Hughes, that's the discipline bit. Sticking your leg in without any intent. If he tried to slide and kick the ball, you would argue that he was actually making a legitimate attempt to get the ball, but he's just stuck his leg in. Obviously, Raheem goes down, and that puts you behind the 8 ball once again. It was interesting when they swapped with Sterling and De Bruyne swap positions, because, as I was saying to you watching the game there, Mariappa was 2 or 3 yards behind the defensive line. It was a matter of time before they started using that width to their advantage. So, again, Watford at the moment have gone into it, it looks like, too defensive, not closing down, not pressing, and allowing Man City lots and lots of possession in bad areas, i.e. in the final third. The difficulty going into the second half, if you change your tactic, then it can all unravel very, very quickly, because you're trying to do something which you weren't set out to do. And in hindsight, it's a wonderful thing. And when you're not winning games, it's easy to find the mistakes because they are already there. I think Hayden probably had the right idea to start with, but for whatever reason, it hasn't come off. I'm still optimistic that Watford will get something out of it, whether it can be the draw or whether it's the best case worst scenario, which is a defeat by 1 goal. But they, a bit more going forward, like you said, Tony, they haven't had an opportunity. the long ball has gone out of play too often or been lost in the second phase of possession. So there's a lot to play for still. And hopefully Hayden isn't having a go at them if he's having a go, it's to motivate them rather than say things went wrong, because Ben Foster has not been overly worked in this first half.
Yeah, with that then, Tony, sort of building on what David said there, I'll just throw some of the stats at you so far. Watford have had 20% possession to City's 80, one shot to City's 12. On target, we're yet to register a chance. City have had 4. They've had 7 corners we've had none at all. So
doesn't look good.
I mean, David's touched on it there though, but the approach to the second half is going to have to be it's going to be interesting, isn't it? Because either you go for it a little bit more and just try and get a goal back, or like you said, is it damage limitation here, because you do have to have the goal difference in mind.
You're caught between a rock and a hard place, aren't you? As a manager there and a young manager, of what to do for the best. Do you go and try and get something out of the game? Are you going to score 2 goals against Man United or Man City, or are you going to do what David said, try and claw a goal back and really get a result from a 1-0 defeat or a 2-1 defeat? Which way do you look at it? But I agree. As you said, the stats, 80% possession. What you've got to do, if you are going to play that way and you want to close down, what you've got to do, and David will know this terminology, is you've got to get the opponent's head down on the ball. So when you are closing down, you've got to be near enough to them so they're looking down at the ball and they're not looking and seeing runners and picking passes out.
Yeah.
That's what Watford are not doing. They're not getting close enough to get the opposition's head down at the ball, so that they can freely move the ball around, they can keep possession, and they'll just keep it and probe, and then bang, they're in. So I know one thing: I wouldn't like to be in Aidan Mullen's shoes at the moment, because I wouldn't know what to do myself. I wouldn't know what to do there. You've had 20% possession. You've had 1 shot from Tom Cleverley, which I thought he should have crossed and not shot. People tell me about Sarr, Pereyra, decent in possession. They can dribble, and they haven't had the ball. They haven't had the ball in the final third. So we're never going to see the best of those. So it's got to change. At this moment in time, I think Watford fans would probably be happy coming off at 2-0 defeat and not more, because I just can't see where we're getting a goal from.
Yeah, well, Drake says he thinks Foster was pretty unlucky in that first half. Tezza agrees, felt sorry for Foster there. It was a great stop. We've had someone point out saying Hughesy's having a great game again. David, on that note, is there anyone in particular that stuck out for you in a Watford shirt so far in that first half?
I think again, 2-0 down, but I think the defence have shown some grit, obviously, with the amount of bodies in the way making those blocks. And I'm saying Man City haven't overworked Ben, but they have overworked the defence. I mean, when you think about the first goal, this is a ball starting on the Watford right-hand side, going over to the left-hand side, and then the ball into Sterling. And they've got the time and the opportunities to do this. So the defence, as a unit, are having to work extra hard. I agree with you, Tony. When you're looking at it, where do you see a Watford goal coming from? Because in possession, and the second goal comes from a Watford possession. Trying to play through the middle of the park, losing the ball, and then obviously giving away the penalty. I think with 5 substitutes, and this is a thing in the modern game, in the current format of the game with 5 substitutes, the instruction to the players is: listen, run. If you're going to do closing down, of course, be disciplined. Put them under pressure. If you get tired, we've got 5 people that can come on and take your place. Second half this is all about effort and work rate. As Tony said, get their heads down on the ball. Man City have been making loads of mistakes recently, so you put them under the pressure to make the right passes. We were, sadly, we were admiring how good their passes are without even looking. But at the moment, they can do that because they know there's not going to be any Watford players there. If they put pressure on the players, force some mistakes, then you get the opportunity to maybe get that shot that gives you the goal. 2-1. The whole game changes. if we're anything like the first half, then this is going to be 45 minutes plus added time where the Watford defence are going to be stretched. Ben Foster's going to have to be a miracle man, and you just can't see Watford putting Edison under any kind of pressure at all. So I'm still optimistic, only because I can't see that performance or that approach going into the second half.
Yeah. How important is that next goal, Tony, either way? Because I think David's right. If Watford gets it, we've seen a game like that against City actually in recent years at Vicarage Road, where Watford pulled one back, and you saw it really did unsettle City. But I suppose equally, if we concede one, well, you would think it's at that point it's a bit of a mountain to climb, isn't it?
I think that is said in every dressing room around the country when the score is the same.
Yeah.
The next goal is crucial, and it is. It either kills the game off or it gets you back into the fight and gives you a chance. So that's how important it is.
Yeah.
You know, I've been there myself. I've heard it many times over the years. You know, when we've either been winning 2-0 or losing 2-0, next goal is crucial, and it really is.
Yeah.
At the moment, I'm totally honest, I can't see Watford getting it. I hope I'm wrong.
There's another thing as well. I mean, you look at the way the game started. Man City, I think they might have had kickoff, but Man City were going forward, and as soon as the ball went dead, Watford slowed the game down. Now, I've been in both positions as a player, you look at it and go, they're scared. They're scared because they're slowing the game down from the first minute. So this second half, Watford have to be on that front foot just to show Man City that they want the game, other than saying, stepping off, slowing things down, we're happy with the 2-0, because it doesn't end up 2-0. That's when you end up with the 4s and 5s.
Well, fingers crossed it doesn't head in that direction, and we're able to pull something back here. Well, that's it from us at half-time. Tony and David are going to be back at full time to analyse the full 90 minutes. But for now, the players are back out at Vicarage Road. They're just emerging from the tunnel. The cameras actually on TV are focusing right in on Hayden Mullins and Graham Stack as they're having quite an intensive chat. Who knows what they're saying? Well, hopefully we will find out shortly, and Watford can find a way back into this game. But for now, we'll hand you back to our commentary team on the Hornets Hive. Here are the familiar voices of John Marks and Derek Payne. Well, full time at Vicarage Road, it has finished Watford 0, Manchester City 4. I know pre-match that we hoped for a point, possibly more, but in a lot of ways, I suppose this result isn't necessarily a surprise. So Tony Coton, David James, let's perhaps focus on the performance in that second half. Tony, we weren't sure really what the approach might be in the interest of damage limitation or trying to get a goal back for goal difference purposes. But what did you make of what they did in the end?
They didn't do either, did they? Conceded another 2 and didn't look a threat going forward at all. It's a difficult one. I mean, Aidan Mullins and Graham Stack have been put in a difficult position. You know, was Danny Welbeck, was he fit? Was he, you know, he's a threat. Would you have gone 4-4-2 and had a go? All these kinds of questions are going to be asked. The bottom line is you're relying on someone else in the game immediately after this one. And then possibly the last game of the season, all to play for.
And David, for you, that second half, was there any improvement anywhere?
Well, there was the counter-attack, which resulted in an Edison save. But I think, you know, we said at half-time, there had to be more. There had to be more closing down. There had to be more, I want to say effort, not reckless effort, but, you know, sort of trying to put Man City out of their rhythm. There was a couple of times where that happened and Man City missed past the ball. We had possession in the final third for a throw-in, I think. And these are things you expect to happen normally, not as the exception in a positive way. So, it's difficult, like you said, for Hayden with such a limited time to prepare in any sort of traditional way for the game. But I just think that Watford, unfortunately, gave Man City too much respect. Man City scored 4 goals. You'd think that was a superb performance. It wasn't a superb performance by Manchester City to what we were used to. Had they been at their top game, this could have been 5-6. I mean, Ben Foster's made some terrific saves both halves to keep the scoreline down, but in the end, it just wasn't enough. Listen, I was optimistic about something in this game. I'm still optimistic in the bigger picture, because better having points on the board, i.e. the 3 points, and making Villa win. But it would have been so much nicer to see, even with a 4-0 defeat, as Tony said before the game, seeing the Watford side actually fighting and getting beat by a far superior side. This was a little bit toothless.
Yeah, but with what David was saying there, Tony touched on it. It's just so hard, though, I suppose, with the games coming so thick and fast and the circumstances over the weekend. Hayden only being in charge effectively for 24 hours or so. Realistically, as hopeful as we all were before kickoff, could you have seen Watford getting anything out of this game? Even, really on their day, on the money, it was always going to be difficult.
I think realistically, if everybody's honest, our hearts rolled ahead when we were saying that we were going to get something out of the game. Did I think it deep down? No, I didn't. Just because of performances. I wanted to share in Dave's optimism. I really did. Because of what this club means to me. I'm not saying it was a toothless performance. It didn't look as if it was a performance with any fight in it. I have to tell you that. And then probably the one leader in your team goes off. Your captain. Felt sorry for him, because obviously he got none of the ball, and certainly didn't get the ball in the areas that he wants it in. But when you look back, and David also touched on it, closing down. We said it first half. We said it at half time, in terms of making their heads go down on the ball, so they can't pick a pass out. This, that, and the other. When Watford had the ball, on the rare occasions Watford had the ball, you see Man City close the ball down in 2s and 3s at times.
Yeah.
Right on top of each other. So Watford couldn't get any rhythm to the game, any passing. Without really, I would have to say, Man City didn't really have to break sweat with it. I think that kitman of Man City, he probably won't have to put their shirts in the wash tomorrow. So it was a controlled performance, a type of performance that we come to expect from Man City. And if you're going to beat teams like this, you've got to upset them I'm not saying playing with the old Wimbledon way, but you've got to do something different, because they've got far superior players that can pass the ball, pass and move. And so you've got to look for something different. What can you do? Upset them in a different way. If you're saying, are you going to lump it forward? You've got to lump it forward, but you've got to lump it in a style, and you've got to have people around there to fight for the second ball. So for me, it looked a toothless performance. There was effort from certain players. I'm not saying they didn't give that, but it's just that impression that wasn't a bottom of the table crucial get a point safety performance for me. I think there was no grit there.
I think that's your point that you just made there, Tony, because it didn't look like Watford needed anything out of the game. When we were talking about it in the build-up, we were optimistic or not, everyone knows that Watford really needs something out of the game just to make things safe for the last game of the season. And it didn't look like that sort of performance, to the point that when Manchester United were at their best, and City arguably are like the old Manchester United with what they've done in the last few years, they would win games before the kickoff, because teams would go out there expecting to get beaten. And unfortunately, as I say, looking at the Watford side, I was hoping that it wouldn't be the case, but it just looked like a side who were, I think you said it, sort of damage limitation, don't get beat by too many. and not hopefully relying on other teams, but in the end now we are looking at Aston Villa. The fear of Aston Villa winning the game tonight, and we have to be as Watford followers, because if they do win, then the problem becomes even more compounded. But at least put yourself on the field. And I think the difficulty as a player, and I've been there in both positions where we ended up getting relegated and where we've avoided relegation, is if you go out there sort of gun-ho and get beat 4-0, you should always say, well, we should have defended. If you go and defend and get beat 4-0, then you should have gone out and attacked. So, in the aftermath, it's easy to see what went wrong. But either way, you need to see effort, desire, and I'm looking at the message on there. All we want is desire.
Yeah.
And it might sound a bit old school, but get a couple of players booked for, showing a bit of desire, letting Man City know early doors that Watford are in this game. They're not just here as hosts for Man City to walk off with a 4-0 win and 3 points.
Yeah, that's a comment from Tezza there. All we wanted to see was desire. Sandra, gutted is an understatement. James says, as long as Villa lose, brackets, they will, and Bournemouth lose, brackets, they probably will, we should be okay. And then it says, it's now on other teams to save us. Capital letters, and I think this is the whole of the Watford fan base worldwide. Come on, Arsenal! Right, well, we'll leave it there. Don't forget that the Hornets Hive is live in the lead up to every Premier League match day, so do be sure to join us at 3 o'clock this Sunday for the final game of the 2019-20 season. Watford travelling to the Emirates in North London to take on Arsenal. We're going to be live with all the build-up ahead of that game, and our two guests will be Gifton Noel Williams and his former teammate Micah Hyde. But that's it from us today on the Hornets Hive. Tony, David, it has been an absolute pleasure having you both as guests. I hope, despite the result, you've enjoyed it as much as we have had having you. So take care, and hopefully we'll see you both again soon.
In the Premier League.
Thanks, Emma.
In the Premier League, yeah, hoping so. And for you watching at home, we hope you have enjoyed the show. And we look forward to seeing you and doing it all again one last time on Sunday. Good night.